Who set it up?
Telling you the truth about this?
Everybody else is pointing the finger at you.
A lot of things look very strange in all this.
You don't kill people over a damn truck.
What stands out to me about this case is just the number of people that were involved.
You've got the old man.
Tina was the maid, which is ironic because she was a mess.
The wife is the farmhand. Sister, who turns out to be a daughter.
I mean, it's almost like watching a Clue movie.
It's just a tangled web.
I'm telling you.
And I'm telling you, that's bullshit. That's what I'm telling you.
So the police already knew who the killer was, but they still had one more question.
As this case and investigation starts, we didn't know it was a murder for hire case, but I show up with the mindset of I'm going to start from zero and see where that takes me. The 911 call came from Loretta Luttrell. She was in her early 70s.
Yeah, boys, what'd you see? I just came in from church, and my husband's laying in the floor. I think he's dead.
Loretta goes to church that morning. Loretta's husband, Ernest, stays home. But when she comes home from church,
She found her husband laying bloody on the floor.
the scene where this had taken place, where the Luttrells lived, is probably a mile from where I grew up as a child my entire life. I would drive past it for 30 years. But now, it was a horrific scene, actually. It could shake you badly.
You walk into the house, and in the kitchen, Mr. Luttrell is laying down. He was 73 years old. He had multiple gunshot wounds to his upper torso, head area. There was no shell casings at the scene. There was no forced entry at all in this house. I didn't see anything like there was a struggle, so that's what you have to work with.
This is a very small area. Most everybody knows everybody. One of the first things you're going to do, you want to talk to the witnesses to learn who the victim was.
I've known Ernest my entire life. Ernest was like an uncle, and Loretta was like an aunt. Ernest, he was bigger than life, boy. Ernest walked in a store. Everybody knew Ernest walked in. He was just going to make sure everybody knew he was there.
I am a retired Army veteran and the commander of the American Legion post here. I met Ernest Luttrell because he was a friend of my uncle. I would have been in grade school when I first met him. Really friendly man, jovial. I also knew him because they frequented the American Legion post. And Ernest was a military vet. He was an Army paratrooper in the Korean War. Being a paratrooper is really tough. Not everybody can do that. You're jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, and all you're attached to is a cord, and your chute opens, and that'd be like skydiving here, but in Ernest's case, it was over a war zone.
And then he worked at the auto dealership with my mom, and then eventually he went to work for Board and Milk, and he worked for them for a long time. Eventually wound up retiring from them, and then he worked at the farm.
My wife and I moved here in 1980. When I first met Ernest, he had hay that he was haying. He was kind of domineering. I just felt like that he was used to having things his way, and that was the way it was going to be. But up from the time when I first met him and the time that he got killed, Ernest and I became closer. We were beginning to develop a camaraderie. I admired him and respected him because I knew he was a hard-working man, and he was a self-made man.
Everybody knew Ernest and Loretta. They were together for, 50-plus years.
They had one child. Katie, she lived in Texas.
Katie was very smart, had all these degrees and everything, was doing well.
When you first heard that Ernest was murdered, what thoughts did you have?
Well, I'm going to relate a little incident that took place just before his murder. Ernest was having a rough go. He looked like he had seen better days. I asked, well, Ernest, I said, let me pray for you. He said, oh, no, I don't want you to do that. He says, I don't believe that anymore. I said, well, you can believe. I said, all you got to do is have faith. I said, have faith. He said, I appreciate you, but he said, I just don't want to do that. 2 days later, he was killed, dead. It bothered me. It still bothers me.
It was just sad. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary.
CSI did the search, and there was treads from like a pattern of a boot, but it was something that we knew wasn't ours, and it wasn't Mr. Luttrell's.
It's obviously a work-type boot, something that would normally be associated with a man.
Then we see, is there anything missing from the house? They noticed there was guns missing as well, some long guns from the gun cabinet.
Was there a robbery? Was someone after his guns?
At some point noticed his truck was missing.
He drove a one-ton flatbed truck.
It didn't have a regular pickup bed on it. It had one of these utility flatbeds on the back of it.
Where's Ernest's truck? Everybody knows Ernest. Everybody knows what Ernest drives.
Any car that passes by, we were stopping them and seeing if they saw anything.
It was Sunday. My family, we get up, go to church, and I noticed Mr. Luttrell had a new truck. But on the morning that I was going to church, I noticed that truck wasn't in his driveway. And that was around 9 o'clock.
Miss Luttrell goes to church at 8:30 in the morning. It's anywhere from 8:30 to 9 o'clock. We think that's probably when it happened.
There's a pretty tight time frame of when this occurred.
But that's one assumption you're making, that Ernest was murdered when Loretta wasn't dead.
Yeah, that is our assumption. Miss Luttrell would never do this. Just look at her. She's so innocent and sweet and fragile. Don't forget fragile.
Right over here. You want me to call you Loretta or?
Oh gosh, Loretta was barely maybe 5 foot tall and 80 pounds soaking wet. She was tiny.
She was 70 years old.
She's just a sweet little lady.
Loretta looked like your grandma who would knit you an Afghan for Christmas.
Very quiet, very mousy.
Whenever Ernest and I were together, she would always stand off in the background and never really engage in a conversation.
Ernest was good to Loretta. Sometimes Ernest could be rough and gruff and what have you, but she always drove a Cadillac. He'd buy her a fur coat. He built that house for Loretta. It's a beautiful log house. It was the house that she dreamed of.
At the American Legion, you would see him at the Friday night dances. He would dance with his wife, Loretta. They were happy.
When the detectives arrived at the scene, the first thing they did was talk to Miss Luttrell.
I don't know if this goes on TV, but she goes to church with my mother. My mom did share with me that Loretta was at church that morning, and she remembers her being there.
Ernest was not a church-going man, so she left him in bed on Sunday mornings to go to church. But on this Sunday, she arrived at church early, about an hour before church even started. Which all this was unusual because you were lucky if Loretta even arrived anywhere on time.
Is there
Anybody you can think of that may be mad at Ernest.
Loretta is supplying us information early on.
But she was suffering from early signs of dementia, forgetting things.
This is when it really gets interesting. There at the Luttrell property, there's a trailer house that's located behind the main residence.
When I say a trailer, it's not like it was a really nice trailer. It was an old, run-down trailer.
And the caretaker lived there. It was a male and a female.
Ernest farmhand's name was Chris Tope.
He was just a kind of a scruffy, little wiry guy. The old saying goes is that he was rode hard and put up wet. Ernest gave him a place to stay to help him with his chores that he had out there.
Chris Tope's girlfriend was Tina Van Morkerk. I would have called it Van Morkerk.
Q is how it's pronounced.
Van Marker Q.
I'm not sure. I just knew Tina. Tina and Chris.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Van Marquis.
Van Marquis?
Tina was the maid, which is ironic because she was a mess. She was 44 years old, but she looked much older.
Miss Loretta, I work for her. I clean her house. I take her anywhere she needs to. I'm like predominantly like her caretaker.
Now, was she hired as the maid originally? Probably not. I think she just took that role on for herself.
Tina had open access to the Luttrell's house. Chris claims that he was there on the property, but he had slept in and wasn't really aware of what had taken place.
So in the morning, I slept in.
That trailer was right behind the house. There's no way that he did not hear that gun going off. There's no way.
Now, I can tell you some things, some hearsay things that I'd heard about Tina and Chris. Well, I had heard that Tina had taken Loretta's credit card and used it for some personal expenses.
It was a few months before it happened, and Ernest wasn't happy about it.
And he made a report with the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office.
There was a report that was a couple $1,000. Where'd you get it?
From Miss Loretta, going with her to the bank.
He wanted to fire, wanted to get rid of her, and Loretta didn't want him to.
And I think that's kind of where the whole bomb went off at. Ernest wanted him off the property, and they didn't want to go. I believe that the farmhand and the maid all were in on it.
That was a hard day. They had taken me in because they thought I was a suspect.
I was angry, hurt, you know. Because I understood like my dad. Even carrying a lot of this with you and your creeps. Yes, sir.
I told them I didn't hear anything because I was far away. Had ACs running in my place, and that produced a lot of noise too.
I do think that it would be possible for somebody who lived close by that you would not know necessarily that had taken place. And you say, yeah, you know, I did hear something that caught my attention, but I certainly didn't think it was a gunshot. And there was no connection with Chris Tope to the boot print that was found at the scene.
The next morning, I went back to Salem, had some Dr. Pickers at Family Dollar Store.
Tina had claimed she was at a nearby dollar store, maybe a quarter mile, if that, away from the house.
Okay, what time was that?
I don't know, I got the ticket in my car. It would be stamped on there.
I don't buy that. Because she went to that particular dollar store because she wanted to be certain that she had a receipt so she could say, look, I wasn't at the house. I don't know what happened.
At this point, there's no evidence. Latent prints, DNA, any other physical evidence that you could possibly link Chris and his girlfriend, Tina Van Markerk, in the murder of Ernest Luttrell.
Ernest was a good man. He was like a dad to me. He helped me a lot by giving me a place to stay.
I really, honestly, I've been blaming myself because Ernest is dead.
If I didn't oversleep, if things would have worked out differently or what. After the murder, I ended up losing my place. I lost everything after that.
Monday after the murder, the detectives still didn't have a firm suspect.
We got a shoe print. We got no casings. We know now, okay, we got a car missing. So what's our next step? What are we gonna do? Look, we gotta find this car, find the truck. While we were looking for the truck, we brought Miss Luttrell back to our house to see if anything was missing. She walks her really slow. She gets on the porch, and I'm walking her so gently into the house. And when that door shuts where nobody can see, she shrugs me off and walks normal. It's like, you know, Jesus healed her, you know? So here she is just walking great again. We go back and there's a safe in the house. She opens the safe. She is counting the money. We get to 4,000 and something. And she says, 3,000. And I'm like, no, you messed up. There was another 1,000. She said, oh, I missed that one, or something like that, which meant absolutely nothing to us at the time, you know?
Meanwhile, the sheriff's office received a call from a young lady that saw or claims that she had seen Ernest's truck. There were some guns in the truck and told us who was driving the truck. A boy named Eric.
Eric Crane was, oh, I would say two-time loser, but it was like a 100-time loser. Couldn't hold a job.
I know that he was just an unemployed blue-collar worker.
He worked for a mechanic body shop guy until he lost his job, probably a week or so before the murder.
We looked him up, and he had prior run-ins with the law. Dope and maybe drinking and driving, but nothing like homicides or nothing bad. I mean, nothing just violent.
Eric lived in a travel trailer near the airport, and
We go there, it's dark. There's no white truck there.
they knocked on the door several times. Nobody would answer.
I thought I saw the door of this trailer open and then shut.
They knew someone was in there, so they called the SWAT team. They knocked again and told whoever was inside to come out.
No one comes to the door.
So they shot tear gas into the travel trailer. Within seconds, a sleepy Eric Crane came out,
Coughing and choking from the CS gas.
screaming, "What's going on?" And the SWAT team did their magic and took him into custody.
First off, may I ask, what the hell is this about? We're gonna cover that, aren't we?
At the time, we get a call that the truck has been located at an oil field site down the street.
It was during the inspection of the truck that there was fingerprint information that connected Eric Crane to that vehicle.
You work on Sundays? Sometimes. I'll have to work at about approximately like 7:45. I'll work until about 3.
Eric gave an alibi during his interview, but yeah, Eric's alibi had problems. He no longer worked at the body shop.
I don't see how Jimmy fired me when I just seen the man yesterday. Jimmy said he did not work for me Saturday or Sunday.
When Detective Scoggins was interviewing Eric, he noticed that it looked like he had blood on his boots.
Change your boots.
Later, it was determined that his footwear matched the print that was left at the Luttrell's residence.
And it come back later from the lab as Ernest's blood.
We got information from a friend of Eric Crane who knew the whereabouts of the possible murder weapon. At an abandoned house near a little shed in the backyard, and we did dig up and find a large caliber handgun.
You being arrested today. First degree murder.
First degree murder. I didn't even shoot no body.
After they booked him, the local news station went and talked to his former boss, Jimmy Sabbath. They interviewed him on camera. And while Mr. Sabbath was talking to the reporter, the phone rang.
Hello, you have a free call from.
Hey, Eric.
And he put his phone on speakerphone.
And now Jimmy is like, oh yeah, just tell me, man, tell the truth.
Did you kill him or what?
Yeah, I killed him.
And we're like, what?
Oh my God. I heard that on the daggum news.
And I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me. This guy's a goofball.
We have no doubt that Eric was the killer.
Eric had the truck. He had Ernest's blood on his boots.
But that doesn't make sense to me. You don't kill people over a damn truck.
No, if the killer left with a vehicle, that would pretty much mean that either he was already there or somebody dropped him off.
Were there other people involved? Was there a conspiracy to hire a hitman?
Who took you out there? Tina Bad Marquis. Who was it? Tina Bad Marquis.
According to Chris, Tina's boyfriend, she was not home the night before.
It was arguing all night. I don't remember about what, but I told her to just go ahead and leave.
She goes to a hotel.
And so now we need Tina. We got to talk. Interviews again.
Hang on. Ask you some more questions.
On that Wednesday morning, about 9 o'clock, I went into the interview room to speak to Tina.
The question is not, is Tina involved in this? Tina is smack dab involved in this. The question is, how deep is Tina involved in this?
It was at that point that she shares that
Been knowing Eric for years.
She knew Eric because
He dated my oldest daughter.
she had recently ran into him.
It was at McDonald's.
she saw him,
I hugged him and he hugged me.
exchanged phone numbers, and later
And then went back to the motel room.
She goes to a hotel, and there's also video surveillance that puts her at this particular hotel. But someone is also captured on video there.
We see Eric Crane at your room. What's he doing at your hotel room?
He's an attorney.
Sex.
No, I did not know that. No. My goodness. Okay.
she told me that she spent the night with Eric Crane on Saturday, the night before Ernest's murder. And she admitted to bringing Eric to Ernest's house on the morning of the murder.
I dropped him off on Walker Road.
No.
Leaving the motel room, yes.
But she claims she just dropped him off close by.
And I do not know he was going to kill Mr. Luttrell. I do not.
I don't believe that. I believe that they were behind it.
She said she went to her house, and while she was there, she heard some gunshots.
What did you do when you heard the shots? What did you think when you heard those daggum shots?
I didn't know what to think. Because, see, there's a firing range up front. There's a lot of people firing in.
There's not a shooting range out there. Where's the shooting range?
I'm telling you.
And I'm telling you, that's bullshit. That's what I'm telling you.
Mm-mm.
Yes, ma'am. He was looking for the person who possibly killed him. We're stopping cars traveling down the road, and you not one time says, this guy drives up here with me. We could have ended this a long time ago, but you didn't do it for some reason.
When I tried to push a little further there, she stopped and looked at me, and she said,
Can I smoke a cigarette or not?
and I did something that I don't usually do, but I said, okay, Tina, let's take a break. So we went outside, and she took a deep draw on her first cigarette. And I continued to ask her questions. And finally, it came down to who set this up. But she didn't talk. She would just shake her head, yes or no. In the process of these questions, I said, was it a man? And she shook her head no. So I named every female that I could come up with that was involved in the case. And she just shook her head. And finally, I came to Loretta. And she shook her head yes. Tina, after about her third cigarette, she sat down on the stairs out there and then told me the whole story.
So several years ago in Shreveport, Bossier area, okay, we have what's called the shell money all came in.
Haynesville Shell. Yes, that was the name.
Haynesville Shell was a big natural gas reservoir under the ground.
They found a very large deposit in northwest Louisiana.
It was a new drilling technique, and around this time, mineral companies were running around snatching up mineral leases all over the place, and they were paying a lot of money for it.
Lease of mineral rights went up to $25,000 an acre.
And you had farmers, which overnight became millionaires.
They got a pretty good little chunk of change.
What they call mailbox money. You wait on your mail once a month to get your check.
Lord, I enjoy going to my mailbox to this day, and I don't have very much. But Ernest was smart. They wound up putting several wells on his land. That's a lot of money.
Now, there's a difference between selling your mineral rights and leasing your mineral rights. He had leased his mineral rights, but then I was standing outside talking to him one day, and he told me that because of his age, that he decided to go ahead and sell his mineral rights outright and go ahead and get his money now for it. You just get one lump sum and you get a bigger chunk of money.
When I interviewed Tina, what she told me was that 2 months before the murder, Loretta had a daughter that lived in Texas. Name was Katie Passanetti. And Katie had a daughter, and she was going to graduate school.
Loretta had said that Ernest had agreed to pay for it out of the oil money.
I had heard, is what I'm gonna say. I heard that Ernest said, no, why would I promise that? And, Ernest got mad and got bullheaded with Loretta.
Loretta started asking him, and graduate school is very expensive, by the way. And Ernest got tired of Loretta badgering him about this, and he said, just send her $1,000.
Was Loretta angry?
Extremely angry. What about Katie? Very.
That's what set the ball in motion. Loretta was obsessed with getting the inheritance. And she asked Tina, can you find someone to kill Ernest for $1,000?
When we heard that, we're going, that's why she miscounted at this house. That's why she wanted this $1,000 to pay for her hitman.
If you're hiring a hitman, Eric Crane is not the one you want to pick. You probably need to spend a little bit more money. At that time, Eric had not yet been paid. Now, we set up a phone call between Tina Van Morkerque and Loretta Luttrell.
Hello? Loretta. Uh-huh. This is me.
Yeah.
And tell her that Eric needs his money.
Eric, the man, shot Ernest for you. He managed to get out on bond about an hour ago, and he called me and looking for $1,000 so he can get out of town. When do you think I can get some money?
And she said,
I'd like to give it to you. I don't have no way to give it to you.
she says it, oh, I'll get the money that I owe him. And I'm gonna tell you, everything we thought about her, poor, it completely leaves us, and we're going, that evil bitch, that's just evil.
And I don't know what to do, see. I just hoping you wouldn't say anything about me.
This phone call led me to believe that Loretta is aware of what has taken place.
We wanted to arrest her, but what if we were wrong?
So you chip away at their story. We looked into Loretta's background, and it was shocking.
The first revelation is that they weren't married at all.
I never did see a marriage certificate or proof that they were legally married.
I was shocked. I don't know if my mom and dad ever knew that.
It was at that point we got a search warrant for the Luttrell's home phone, and we learned when Loretta had returned home from church the day of the murder, rather than calling 911, she calls Tina.
We had a murder warrant for Loretta Luttrell right before Ernest's funeral.
What was Ernest's funeral like?
I kind of stood back at the edge of it with the sheriffs and the detectives because I told I wasn't allowed up there. Loretta, what she said.
Loretta didn't want you at the funeral?
But they arrested her at the funeral.
It became a shock to the members of the Legion. When a veteran passes away, we'll be the one that places the flag upon the casket, then it's handed to the wife. And that's why it's so confusing to us how that Loretta had been arrested.
I actually asked Loretta to come with us to the office for interview.
Have a seat right here.
I told her, I said,
It was Tina that talked to you yesterday. Again, I was right here listening to it. Well, if somebody calls me and asks me that the man that killed my wife is looking for the money I owe him, do you think I'm going to respond, well, I don't have it to pay him right now?
Well, I wasn't going to sit and argue with her
No,
because...
you're not going to sit and argue with her when she's telling you
No,
that the man who you wanted to kill your husband wants to get paid.
I wasn't going to sit and argue with her and tell
That's not an argument. That's not an arguable situation. I said, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, or okay, I'll pay you as soon as I can, and that's pretty much what you said.
Because like I said, I'd go down dying saying that because I wouldn't have killed my husband. I loved him too much.
we were certain at this point that she too had involvement in this scheme to kill Ernest Luttrell. But the case is not closed after that. The story just began to grow and grow, and more people, it seemed, were intimately involved.
Katie Passanetti, who was Loretta Luttrell's daughter, came by the office to see me to tell me her mother had been charged with murder. And so Katie was trying to hire me to represent her mother. The sheriff's department, the DA's office, well, they're basically trying to portray Loretta as this evil mastermind, like something like you'd see off TV. But meeting Loretta, you can tell I saw no way at all she could possibly be some sort of mastermind behind all this. She'd been diagnosed by her doctors in writing with actually having early onset dementia. As a matter of fact, at a few points, she actually asked me where her husband was, which is kind of sad. She's asking about the husband she's supposed to have killed because she thinks he's alive. She had very little understanding of why she was even there. I dealt with dementia patients before, and a lot of times they'll nod. They'll say yes. If you ask them a question, they don't want to appear that they don't understand you. There were no eyewitnesses to say that Loretta came into the house, that she pulled the trigger, she had a gun, because there's nothing really tying her to this beyond the possible testimony of the housekeeper saying, well, this is what took place. And why would you believe a housekeeper who clearly was involved? But then several months after I began representing her mother, here are another suspects involved, and then something else takes place.
Ernest and Loretta, supposedly they had a daughter. I did find out later that it wasn't his daughter. Now, I can tell you some things about his daughter, Katie. She never lived with Ernest and Loretta. So I did find out later that it wasn't his daughter, that it was Loretta's daughter.
That's a story in itself. Loretta was very young, 15 maybe, 16 when she had Katie. But I remember Katie being Loretta's sister, and that Katie had found out when she was in her late teens, maybe in her 20s, that Loretta was not her sister, that Loretta was her mother. Because Katie was raised by Loretta's mother. It was a big secret that Loretta held very close to her chest. Katie had moved on, went to college. Katie was very smart, doing very well, and was working. But Loretta would talk about Katie. But Ernest really didn't talk about Katie.
Ernest was his own man. One day, when he told me that he had sold his mineral rights outright, he said, "My daughter told me that I was stupid. I should have never done that." He said, "That pissed me off. It ain't none of her business what I do." It made him mad. Point that he took her out of his will and that his daughter was not going to get anything. Now, he did tell me that.
After the arrest of the three, Tina, Loretta, and Eric, the DA's office later uncovered that Ernest had a will,
which left everything to Katie and to her daughter.
And I was like, well, that sounds suspicious. Now, did Katie have anything to do with the murder of Ernest?
And Ernest had apparently made some promises that he was going to help take care of the granddaughter. And apparently later on, he reneged on his promise, which is one of the reasons the prosecution and the police thought may have given Katie a reason to orchestrate all of this. The police and the DA approached the notary who signed off on this. Ernest wasn't there. The notary had fraudulently signed off on the document.
This that we're referring to is entitled Last Will and Testament of Ernest Luttrell. When is the first time you ever laid eyes on this document?
First time I saw it was October 2nd.
I realize the document says July 1st, so it wasn't executed on the date that the will shows.
No.
When you first saw this document, Ernest Luttrell was already on there.
Down here at the bottom, yes, on all 3 pages. Katie told me that Ernest signed this.
You didn't see Ernest sign?
No.
So you have this signed 3 months after the man's dead?
Yes.
this was a forged document.
Katie claimed that Ernest's sister was trying to take everything. And she said that she has no access to funds to pay to help her mother.
The notary was in a lot of trouble. And I say a lot of trouble. She wasn't getting her hands slapped. Of course, when the police and the DA approach you with, you're about to get criminally prosecuted.
Telling you the truth about this will keep me from being arrested.
She was more than forthcoming to explain exactly what took place. Katie put her up to this, and that in no time did Ernest ever agree to any of this.
Well, now that was a surprise to me when I found out about the daughter.
Well, the evil genius in this case is Katie Passanetti. I don't think that Loretta by herself really cared about having a lot of money or taking all of Ernest's money for her sake. But in my opinion, Loretta's motive there was to make amends to her daughter. Katie felt like that money was due to her because her mother abandoned her. She's paying penance for ignoring a daughter that she didn't raise herself.
Katie, of course, maintained her innocence on the case. But in the end, the jury actually came back and found her guilty. I was looking very forward to going to trial with Loretta, letting the jury see what I had seen, that she had nothing to do with the death of her husband. Unfortunately, we weren't able to actually do the trial because of her untimely demise.
Loretta, unfortunately, died in custody. She succumbed to her mental and physical conditions and passed away.
There's no doubt who killed Ernest, but we'll never know what Loretta's involvement is. She was never convicted. I prayed that Ernest never finds out that if Loretta was behind it or had something to do with it. That makes me sad. He did love her. He loved her. And, I don't think we'll ever get the whole truth. I don't think we'll ever know what happened for sure. But I know the love of money is the root of all evil. So I believe that it all revolved around money. And a good man was murdered over it.
Go, get up. Why did they want to kill him?
You think they're gonna kill somebody?
He had a hood on?
Yes, and a mask.
It's all over the country.
There's a homicide over at the McDonald's.
Yes, he's dead.
That's what it comes down to. A broken snowmobile.
He had the nickname named the Witch Doctor.
The Witch Doctor. That was his chicken biting name.
Everybody else is pointing the finger at you.
I thought it was the gold.
Everyone's a person of interest. If there was an intended target, why take two more?
A lot of stuff can be hush-hush sometimes in a small town.
It wasn't a heck of a lot of money to take 3 lives.
Being placed under arrest for murder.
Murder who?
Like, I know who pulled the trigger.
I didn't know it.
Recognize this person. Who set it up?
Who is pulling the strings here?
She's the one who made that happen.